Ciao everybody, and welcome back to Evil GM Reviews Movies. This time, I just came home from watching The Suicide Squad. I did not actually. Let me say a few things about the movie first. I mean, from the premise of this review, I have not seen anything, any trailer or barely anything about the whole movie before seeing it. So basically, I didn't have any expectations. Uh, all I thought about the movie at first hand was like it's probably gonna be around the same quality as the other as Birds of Prey. Birds of Prey was Birds of Prey was a movie by that told about Harley Quinn. It was basically her own solo movie, and it was actually decent compared to what DC usually has been throwing at us. For now, the only movie, the best DC movie, if not counting the Batman trilogy by Nolan, I think, would be Watchmen. Didn't remember that Watchmen was even a DC movie. But anyhow, yeah, this was actually a nice surprise. It was positively a good surprise. I had some sort of expectations that, like I said, it would be adequate or mediocre or something like that. Turns out it was more. I don't know if it had something to do with the fact that I didn't have much expectations, and DC has kept, basically failing us all the time, or getting us disappointed from movie to another. But this movie actually took it all back. And I kind of wish that every movie would have been like this, The Suicide Squad. It's kind of weird that they call it the first movie. Nah, I don't know actually what is on the timeline. The first movie would have been like Superman versus Batman or whatnot. But I kind of thought that their first movie name was Suicide Squad, and the second one is called The Suicide Squad. So can't really different. It's hard to understand which movie is actually which. But hey, now oh, you son of a bitch. And shortly saying about the whole movie is that it was written and directed by the same person. Usually there's a small hazard of people who also do the writing and directing, because well, the good thing is that they might know what kind of vision they have when they wrote the whole thing. Thus, directing, there's no complication with actually directing the thing. But there's also the con that the director might not see all the bad stuff that it has written. Because when you turn into a when you're writing the thing, you see some of the aspects of the movie from certain point of view, and if there might be some flaws in it, you don't really get the second opinion of somebody else saying what kind of changes the movie actually might have, and sometimes a different director even gives some good stuff to the movie itself. And and well, in this case, I don't think there was anything bad about the directing. The directing was good. The uh, the movie script itself was good. Oh, I liked all the dialogues. I like how the character development came throughout the movie, and the movie itself didn't feel like it was too long, which is kind of a surprising on nowadays movies, because in the old days, not the good old days like the boomers say, movies tend to be very impact and tells what it needs to be told in about over an hour or hour and a half. Nowadays, you might see movies that keep on dragging like for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Yet the pacing doesn't seem to be working in some cases. Not in this one. I thought that this movie had a nice narrative. The character development was nice. As I said, you kind of see first see and know that most of these people starring in the whole Suicide Squad are criminals, and that's the point of the whole Suicide Squad, because you end up serving as a group who is completely dismissible and totally expendable in all sorts of black ops operations. If something goes south or bad, nobody's gonna miss them, and no information is coming out from that mission either. So they're technically perfect candidates for those kind of really hard quality, I mean hard challenging missions. That's why they're called Suicide Squad. And here it kind of starts in a way that you the whole group is formed, everybody against their own will, of course, and everybody is some sort of well, I wouldn't say villain, some sort of a well, criminal. Technically, they are all criminals. Well, not they're actually literally criminals, because I think every character there has been sentenced to jail for several reasons, like they robbed a bank, or they use their superpowers for bad stuff, and so on. And considering that when we had this first Suicide Squad movie, there were lots of characters, and we didn't actually know who they were, and not at any point they actually establish any sort of a connection with the viewer and the movie characters that could make us sympathize them or understand the characters in all sorts of ways. It basically just took us straight to the action without telling much, which isn't basically so bad. But when you try to make some sort of dialogues that you're supposed to care, but you actually don't know anything about the characters, well, it creates the situation where the viewer actually really doesn't care about the characters themselves. Here instead, the pacing of the movie made it so that throughout the movie we learned little by little something about the all the members of the Suicide Squad. And when you kind of saw things or heard their story, you felt bad for them. You felt that, hey, these are not just basic super villains. They were villains for a reason, and they instead instead of using their superpowers for good, they had their problems, whether they came from their past family, how they were treated as a kid, or something like that, or mistreated by the government. In and also most of the superpowers here were unlike in the first Suicide Squad. The usage of superpowers were actually kind of interesting. Well, if you remember that you had who was in the first Suicide Squad? I think there was the Boomerang guy, and generally speaking, there were lots of characters who were almost like a bunch of nobodies, because, you know, back at the start of Detective Comics, when you have Batman beating up all kinds of criminals, he tends to he tended to have all sorts of villains or enemies who weren't. They had to invent more challenges or for Batman, and as time went by, Batman started to get all kinds of opponents like the Penguin or the the Joker and the Walrus guy and whatnot. Well, you got my point, anyways. And well, many qualities in the superpowers in the previous Suicide Squad were all about how flashy they were and how much of a damage then they can make around. Well, basically, when you also hire these kind of people for different kind of Black Ops missions, it's kind of important that you do hire people who are supposed to be some sort of talented or have the means and the basics to actually finish the job. But it felt like there were lots of characters in the whole the first Suicide Squad that didn't show their powers to full potential. Instead, here the balance with the team actually came out quite well. Although I did have some issues of having so many characters, like 2 or 3 characters with almost the same sort of superpowers or abilities. But I think there was a kind of like good sort of a reason why they used these kind of characters all together. More of that in a spoilers section. Yeah, well, as I said, the cast was nice. The characters were not nice. The writing was more than just okay. Same thing with the how it was directed. There was not too many CGIs that really bothered me. And if there were more CGIs, then I thought I didn't actually notice it. And there were some good, nice choices of who's the bad guy, who's the main villain, and the moment they mentioned what kind of what was the whole deal with the whole movie, why they were sent out to do their mission, I recognized the villain, which made it quite interesting, considering I have seen what that specific villain is capable of doing, and yeah. All in all, the movie was great. The none of the songs itself during the movie were that rememberable, but I think that's kind of a that's kind of something that also happened with the Marvel movies. In most of the Marvel movies, Avengers and so on, it's kind of like generic super uplifting theme that you hear throughout the movies, and they basically don't have much to, you know, to write home about. It does their job. You get the feeling that now things are epic and everything is super and so on, but you do not actually remember or recognize that certain things, which theme song belongs to whom. And here, so the music basically, it did fit the general theme and atmosphere of the movie throughout the whole film, but it wasn't like anything that completely memorable. Also, I thought that they could have done more with one of the characters, the Shark King. There's this guy who's basically a shark shape in a humanoid shape, which turns out to be in the end bit of a comical side of the movie itself. There was a chance of the movie having more than just one comical sidekick. But the good thing about this whole movie is that during the first movies that I've seen from DC's side, let's say at first Batman versus Superman, the whole atmosphere of the movie, the tone of the movie felt like it was all dark and serious and so on. With DC going completely opposite of what Marvel went on. But as Marvel started to win more and more views, and the whole movie race in general, maybe DC started to think that we need a little bit of comedy in our movies also, and instead of giving it to some other characters who would have been quite good for that role, they gave it to Batman. Batman is like the last person you would actually want to throw so much comedic dialogues to. But yeah, anyways, I think there was enough comedy and humorous agendas and dialogues. It was like they were all basically shared among all of the cast and people throughout the movie, which worked in this case. But, although the Shark King did have more of a comedic value to the whole movie than the rest of the group, I didn't feel like the comedy itself was forced, and I also thought that the situational humor and comedy throughout the movie was well paced and done. So the script was nice, the directing was nice, movie was okay. I mean, the music was okay, and so on. All in all, if all the DC movies would have been the same quality as this movie, the Suicide Squad. I'd say DC would have probably won the whole superhero competition. But hey, what's your opinion yourself of these? Put it in the comments if you want. Next, I'm gonna review the whole this whole thing without any spoilers. Much easier to talk about. Please hit the like, hit the sub, hit the share, hit the bell, and check out my Patreon, Twitter, Facebook pages. And I'll see you again next time. Stay safe, everybody, and wash your hands. Thank you. Come again. Bye. God dang it. Also, Margaret, you were awesome.